All right, welcome, a beautiful morning. You're welcome to Women's Corner. My name is Rose Blossom. It's exciting to be here because we have amazing persons also to join us on today's program. And do not forget, this program runs through from 11 o'clock to 12 noon. And of course, you can watch us live on Facebook, on Twitter. Just type in Galaxy Television, and of course, you can watch us live. Also, you can download Galaxy Television app from Google Play Store or Apple Play Store to watch us live. And right, my name is Rose Blossom, you know, your favorite host. Okay, anyway, today we're talking about sexual violence amongst women. This is a very broad topic, but you know, as we do it this month, we can talk about it. Next month we do a part 2, but we don't call it part 2 because it's just a continuity, which of course, if you follow the program, you can actually, you know, key into it. Today it's exciting, but before I introduce my guest, I want us to go on a very short break, actually, and we'll be right back to the studio to continue the program. Then I'll introduce my guest and we start talking. Let's take a short break. All right, welcome back. It's good to be here. I have an amazing guest with me. She's beautiful, she's pretty. In fact, I admire her so much. I feel like just taking everything that she's, you know, on today, but I won't do that. Maybe the next time she comes on the show. Okay, anyways, with me is Pastor Ngozi Ezeonu Uchendu. She's a real estate officer with the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, and also she is an author. Welcome to the show, Ma.
Good morning. Welcome, viewers.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
It's very good to have you. How are you feeling this morning?
Good. We thank God. We thank God. The first thing we need to, you know, to appreciate God for His life.
Bless.
And we have it. I thank God.
Yes, that's amazing. Okay, we have 2 Zoom guests. I would like to introduce my 2 Zoom guests. I will start with Gabriela. She's an engineer. She's a broadcast presenter, and she's also a life coach. Can we have Gabriela on the screen? Do we have a Zoom guest ready? Okay, maybe Gabriela is not ready. Let me talk about the other guest. The other guest is Dr. Adebusola Okedele. She's a lecturer. She's the founder of Teen Girls Enlightenment Initiative, which is EAI. She's also a women and a girl child advocate. Can we have Dr. Okedele on the screen? Okay, since our guests are not there yet, let's just continue with Pastor Ngozi. Now, I just want to ask this question first. You know, like you said before we started the show, you said sexual violence is broad, and we all know that. But first, for people that do not understand what it is, how would you describe, if you want to elaborate in layman English, how would you describe sexual violence?
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sexual violence is unlawful sexual act. Any activity of sexual activity that without consent is a sexual violence.
Wow. So without consent is definitely sexual violence.
Yeah.
So why is it that most female, yes, I know male go through that, like children, but why is it that most female rather, at a younger age, they have the highest percentage of ladies, of women, of girl child that are being sexually violated? Why do you think that?
Because when you are tender or you are toddler, stage, you are vulnerable. I think because they are vulnerable, they can't speak for themselves. They can't even defend themselves. So that is why most of the time you see that they are the one that are most violated. And when you ask me, I'll say that girl child need more protection from parents.
So a girl child,
especially the mother.
Okay, so is it that there's something the parents or the mothers do wrongly that makes it like make them girls more vulnerable to such violence? Do you think there's something they do wrong? Or if there's something they do wrong, what are even those things that you think mothers do wrong that makes their girl child more prone to this sexual violence?
You know, as a mother bringing up a girl child, you need to talk to them about some certain, parts of their body. You will have to teach them how to protect some part of their body. There are sensitive part of a girl child that you should, make it as a limit that whatever is coming closer to you, that you should have a limit. You shouldn't touch some certain area. You should dress in certain ways, to help you to cover yourself very well. Because we tend to understand that men are being moved by what they see. If some part of your body is covered very well, I don't think you will be prone or exposed to such violence.
Okay, so that means a lot of women tend to wear. Okay, what do you now say about? Do you think is right? I've seen a lot of girl child, like parents. When they want to buy something for that girl child, they usually tend to always buy, these shorts, these bomb shorts. They buy skirt. They won't. I'm not saying always buy long skirts. You buy a short skirt. You see some of them, they already wearing off shoulders. They already though there's nothing sexual about what they are wearing. It's someone that is definitely mentally deranged that look at a child wearing off shoulder and bomb shorts and feel attracted or want to violate them. But at the same time, don't you think it is actually right for them to actually teach this child to dress properly, so that because if they are used to these exposed body, you can't expect the child to grow up and start covering the body, because this is what you train that with, and you start seeing that maybe when they now get to like 10, when they start getting to that puberty age and they start developing breasts, developing some curves and all of that, then that's when the parents will start giving advice. No, don't wear this, don't wear that. But they know that as a child, this is what they used to wear. So do you think parents actually make it go wrong even starting from there?
Exactly, I think so, because the way you dress, we are being there is a word that goes, you've been addressed the way you dress. You need to be a modest.
Yeah.
If you're a model for your girl child, definitely that child will follow the route you took. When a child is growing, seeing the mother that you expose, the privileges, that child is growing, seeing that. Understand that is a wrong thing to do. So as a mother, and the one thing I've observed, the much I've stayed in life, is that girl child imitate their mother, and the boy child imitate their father. So if you're a prayerful person, if you cover yourself well, definitely your child will come up that way. So most a time when a girl child is defied in their in their tender age, the 99% goes to the mother.
That's very true. I totally agree. I want to ask one question before we go for a breaker. Just to take water and relax. Now, we have sexual violence in women, just the way we are addressing it. Now, we've talked about the children. Let's divert a bit for the male. Why do you think, okay, because we kind of discussed this yesterday, but not in the sexual part. We talked about the training part, which is still part of the training. Why is it that most women, mothers, because we are the one they say we have to train the children, keep the home and all of that. So why do you think that mothers tend to focus more on the woman? Don't dress like this, don't eat like this, don't sit down like this, cross your leg, always wear tights, all those kind of things, so they don't expose themselves. But they don't actually talk to their sons, the boys, the men, the one that grow up to be men. They don't talk to them to make sure that, see, when you see this, when you do this, when you do that, it is wrong. This is how you should do. Why do you think that we always tend to just forego that part of the training for the men and focus only on the child to make sure she maintains dignity and poise? Why?
Before answering that question, I will put it this way. I don't think it's right for a parent to particularize on a girl child. Give it a balance. As you are training the boy, you are training the girl child, because when a girl child grows as a good woman and he become a wife, if he has a wrong husband, the home will still have an issue. So it's important that we train both. But having said that, I will not tell you more reason the girls are being protected, because when a girl miss her way, it shows. Let me give you an example. When there is a sex between a boy and a girl, the boy will just get up and dress and go, and the woman which is the girl, you know, oftentimes it comes out in pregnancy.
Yes.
And this pregnancy will truncate the destiny of that girl child. It will truncate the glory. It might not even further her education. Why? Because the deed has been done when it was too tender. So that is why you see we put so much protection, you know, to a girl child to see that it comes out well. You know, because any mistake in a girl child shows. And even in African tradition, you will understand that girl need much more protection.
Okay, that is well said. I actually agree with you, because once you do it, the man is 5 minutes, but for you it could take you years to recover from that 5 minutes which you spent with a man. Anyways, let's go for a breaker, and this one, the breaker is going to be tips for creating a functional home workspace. This is just away from the topic. I just want you to know that despite being an entrepreneur, despite being a woman in this time, and just pushing for all women so that they can stand on their 2 feet, you might not even have a workplace. You might not be working under somebody. You can actually be an employee of labor right from your home. And this is the part whereby if you are not even in the office, you can create a workspace in your home. There are people that do online businesses. You just order and from their house, you ask them where is the office, they say don't worry, we only do delivery. So you can actually do that. And this way is another way you can, what I'm giving you is just a way you can create a home workspace that is safe for you and is also safe for the children, safe for the family, and also you can actually, before you know, you start employing people, before you know, you can even decide to have a store outside your home. But at the same time, while you're even having a store outside your home, sometimes you might want to still have a workplace at home. So here is a tip for you to have a workplace in your house. We'll be right back after this tip to continue the program.
7 tips for creating a functional home workspace. Set boundaries. Not everyone has the same amount of space to work with. Whatever its size, establish boundaries for your work zone and stick to them. Do not allow stray papers, folders, sticky notes, notebooks and like to escape these borders, and do your best to work only in this space, not in your bed or at your kitchen table. Preventing your workspace from taking over your entire home will help you to relax when you're not plugging away to work and to locate materials more easily. Collect inspiration. This is the funny part. You can gather inspiration tips and photos via sites like Apartment Therapy, House, Lifehacker, or Pinterest and have some favorite blogs. Make your budget work for you. When deciding how much you can spend on your space, think carefully about the type of work you'll be doing there. Will you be mostly reading, writing, sketching? Consider saving as much money as possible on basics like your bookshelves or filing cabinet in order to splurge on 1 or 2 items that will make your day-to-day task more comfortable. Spend less in one area to get more in another. But if you can't find what you're looking for or prefer to buy new, take advantage of free shipping and discount codes when doing your online shopping for your workspace furnishings. Before making a purchase, be sure to scope out a deal site to check for promotions and free shipping codes to save a little extra cash. Display a visual reminder of what excites you about your work. Give yourself an extra motivational boost by keeping something in your workspace that reminds you why you are interested in your field or research topic to begin with. Keep a memento nearby to remind yourself how far you've come. Spending considerable energy researching programs and potential advisors, you organized over your application materials, and now you're here. For the days when you're feeling overwhelmed with how much you still have to conquer, add an item to your workspace that reminds you how much you've already accomplished. Maybe it's your diploma, or maybe it's a card you received at graduation from someone you admire or achieved so far. Schedule time to keep your space organized. Create a routine for reorganizing your office area on a regular basis so that your workspace makes you feel a bit more in control. Maybe you take 15 minutes to file the mountain of papers that has consumed your desk or to reshelve stray piles of books. It doesn't have to take much of your time, but it should be consistent.
welcome back. Now, those are tips for you creating a functional home workspace, and I hope you learned one or two. You can create your own home workspace now and get it all right. So we still have Pastor Ngozi Ezeonu in the building. So I'm going to continue with my question. Now, you said a lot about the girl child and the women. Now let's talk about the women. Of course, there's this trauma and everything, and there's this therapy section you have to go through because you've had the sexual violence. But to be honest, what is the first thing that you think a woman should do once she feels, there are adults too that get sexually violated? Yeah. Sometimes you might be walking on the streets, or maybe you're even at a workplace, you want to get a job, and you meet the boss, and the boss is trying to be sexual with you. You're being violated. Now at that point, what is the first thing do you think a woman should do when she feels that I'm an adult now, why should I be sexually violated? So what are the first things you think she should do first before we start doing the therapy, the this, the that one, the talk to someone? What do you think a woman should do first to help herself?
You need to, speak up. You need to Can I shock you? You are saying girl child, girl child. Some wives are being molested. Violently, yes. I've had a case. I told you I'm a pastor. I had a case. A woman that is married with a husband, and the way the husband has sex with her is to rape her. Yes. Wow. Yes. He will beat her, and she will be crying. In that sober, he will now rape her. Yes. So women are going through a lot, and I don't know why it's so. I think it's because the social norms, the tradition, African mentality that subjected women into this. Because they see, a woman as the lesser woman. That's the nation we find ourselves. But one thing I need to tell any woman out there, there is nobody like you. And nobody will put you less. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to speak up. Anytime somebody is making advances that you didn't consent to, you need to speak up. You need to, have a push. Yeah. If it's to push the person away, if it's to raise your voice at the person, let the person know that you have a value. Let the person understand that you are valuable. Yes, you have a value. Yes. You said something about the normal thing in Africa, why Africans are always like this. Yeah. I just want to ask, how do you think this cultural and this society has actually made it look like it is normal for women to be sexually violated? In fact, at a point, I realized that there was a story I heard of somebody that was angry with a lady and had to post it on his status that in fact that while he's trying to console somebody that lost a woman or a lady that lost somebody close to him, and in fact all women deserve to be raped. And I'm like, such a person should not even be working. It should be it's like a mental problem. You can't exactly. Now, if you look at that kind of person, if you check, must have done something to some lady, sexually violated a lady, and at the fact when they started making the investigation, they realized that he had asked the lady out at a point, but the lady refused. He even went as far as photoshopping the lady's head on a nude picture that is not even hers. You understand? Imagine the trauma. And if a lady does not speak out at that point, it leads to, suicide and all of that. This is why we need to do what is right. So anyway, I think we actually have our Zoom guests now. Okay. Anyways, okay, our Zoom guest is not available right now, so I'll just continue with you. So I was saying, telling a story. Now, at that point, imagine such a child. He's still a very young boy. He's even still in school. I'm certain of that one. Now imagine someone that is in school doing that. He's not even under the tutelage of his parents. Nobody is watching him. Nobody is disciplining him. Nobody is telling him this. He's only there to school. So imagine the kind of condition he has in his head. What do you expect people at that point to do? I know you learn and unlearn. Maybe that child grew up in a family that the father is this macho guy. The father takes it all. When the father say it, he ends. and the apple cannot fall from a mango tree. So the child grew up that way, that you shouldn't talk when I talk. If I should ask you out, you should be proud that I asked you out. Now that is the mentality that such guy or boy has. Because I have spoken, I'm the man here, so you need to abide by my rules. Yes, and he grew up like that. When he got into marriage, he see the same thing. Because he cannot do different. It's what he saw the father do, he will automatically do the same thing. I think that is it. That's it.
Yeah, so that means we still part of what we are saying, that we have to train our boys too, because imagine such a person. And anyways, the advice I gave to the person was the person should report to the police. While you're doing that, you also have to report to an activist, a human rights activist. So yeah, and definitely she actually did speak up. That is why we are in the know, and that is why we're waiting for an update. I'm still waiting for the update, because that boy needs to be locked.
There is one point I want to bring out here. You were a victim. You were a victim. Know it at the back of your mind that you are not at fault here. You are not at fault. Don't allow anybody to put it to you that you made a mistake. You are not at fault, because everybody have the right to belong. So you are not at fault.
You are not at fault, so everybody has the right to belong. And I just want to ask now, for people, how do you talk to the older generation? Because yes, I know at a point they've gotten it all wrong. That was why, some people used to say, even as a den, there are a lot of sexual violence, but because there was no voice for the woman was always regarded to be in the other room, be in the kitchen, be in the other room, you understand? So some of them, even when they want to get educated, the husband will probably disagree, or the parents will be like, why am I educating you? It's the man that needs the education. I know you've gotten it all wrong in those time past. What advice will you give to parents now on how they can actually train both the girl child and the male child? And at what age do you think that every girl and every boy should be able to understand the difference between having sex and sexually violated? And also, there should be a time when you should even start involving in such a thing. So what advice will you give to parents in that aspect? And while you're telling them, also let the children learn from the advice.
Thank you. As a parent, I have boys. It's boys. I don't have a girl child. I have boys. But you need to specifically tell your child how to behave, how to, grow. You teach them how to dress to start with. If your girl child knows how to cover herself very well, if your girl child knows the limit any person can go to her, to touching, the extent of the touching, because this touching is sexual harassment. If somebody is touching you sexually, you need to speak up, and you need to let them understand that there is no difference between training a girl child and training a boy child. So we need to come up in training them so that both of the children, the boy and the girl, will come out well.
So you need to train them. You need to train them for them to actually come out well. Anyways, let me just say this now. It's we've always been saying this on this program, that while you're training the girl child, you have to train the boy child. And we have to keep saying it so that it will sink in. Not just that, because I've seen a lot of young women who are mothers that they put their child up to some tax. You see some child at the age of 18, they're already catering for their home. And if you check it, those ladies who are mothers actually married early, or maybe they are. In fact, most of the stories are usually maybe they were impregnated, so they had to marry the man. You understand? So that's not true. Which they didn't even wait to have so much that training. They didn't get to have so much, and it is what you have. You can give. You understand? So if you didn't have enough of that training, how do you pass it on to your child? Now there are some people that they start catering for their home at the age of 18, 20, 21, where they're supposed to be focusing on themselves, on their education, you understand, they are doing all of that because why the parent probably feels that this is why I sent you to school, so that you can make the money. I didn't do that for myself. I was broke. I did see your father, see me, you understand, you are the one that brings us out of poverty. So much pressure on such child. Now this is to talk to the young mothers out there that are just getting into marriage because they have I will not say unwanted pregnancy, it just resulted that after doing that they got pregnant, and maybe some of them feel like they want to use it to pin a man, and yes, maybe the man got pinned eventually. What advice will you give to such young ladies?
I think what I have to say here is let the child know that for you to have sex, let them understand the limit of sexual life until you get into your husband's house, until you are matured enough. There is no room for a child of 10 years to 14 years, to get involved
sexually. Yeah.
So let them understand that saying anything about sex is when you are in your husband's house.
Okay, all right. I want to talk to my guest now, my Zoom guest, because our time is already fast spent, so she will talk a little bit. Can we have Gabriela, our Zoom guest right now? Good morning, Gabriela.
Hello.
Good morning, how you doing?
Good morning, I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for your patience. So I know you've kind of been following the program and all of that. I just want to ask, from your own perspective, we have so much high rate of sexual violence in women, and it's something we need to caution. But first, the only thing I'm going to ask you is, from your own, not your personal experience, but for your own experience, like listening to others, seeing videos and on social media, listening to people talk about different issues when it comes to sexual violence. What is your take on how to make sure that we curb this sexual violence amongst women? We're able to curb it. I know it's almost impossible to say we'll erase it totally, but how can we make sure that the percentage is not as high as it is right now in the society?
Okay. First off, thank you very much for having me, and all the points that have been said earlier are very valid. It's almost like they had said it all, but so you might find me reiterating some things that the first guest had already said. So, curbing sexual violence in women. Well, first off, I would say that sexual violence is like any other vice. It's like lying or stealing. It's like any other vice. And let's treat it as such. What do I mean? Treating it as such means that one solution to it would be parents, both mothers and fathers, sensitizing their children, both male and female, from childhood on what sexual violence is and why they should not engage in that. So you know how, as a child, you engaged in one or two vices. Let's say the whole picking 20 naira for mommy's bag to go and buy sweets. Yeah, I was a culprit once, and my mother picked the hell out of me that day. And in doing that, she let me know why it was wrong to just take up money and go and buy sweets. So that training instilled in me the fear and the dangers of stealing. Let me know that that was stealing and why I shouldn't do that. The dangers it had to me, how it was impacting others. So treating sexual violence as like every other vice means that from childhood, parents should start to sensitize their male children and their female children on what sexual violence is. Let them know that there is such a thing as sexual violence if we are going to deal with it. Let them know that there is such a thing as sexual violence and why they should not engage in it. Yes, they should know what it is, and then they should know the why. Knowing the why is something that would stick with a child all through life. Because if you look at some of the reasons why men, since we're focusing on sexual violence with women, so why men who engage in sexual violence do that, you find out that the bulk of that reason boils down to that lack of self self-control. A larger percentage of it boils down to that lack of self-control. That's why I said, if we treat it like any other vice, then we can teach children about it early enough that it's a train up a child in the way it should go. So it becomes, just as a child knows that I should not steal, you know, the way parents would instill fear in a child and say, if you steal, they are going to burn you with fire, they are going to arrest you, and your life would end up miserably bad. And that child, even when you are faced with tough situations in life, you learn to say, you know what, I need to go and work, or I need to ask for help instead of resorting to stealing. The same thing should be done to teach from childhood, so that children know that there is such a thing, and this is why I shouldn't engage in it. This is how it impacts another person out there, and this is the dangers it has to meet too. Because yes, there are dangers of sexual on perpetrators. There are dangers of sexual violence to them, not just to their victims. And then, what else can we do to curb sexual violence? Another point I want to say is that we need a paradigm shift for us women. Yes, we need a paradigm shift for us women. And I'll throw light on that. As women, you find out that sometimes when we say, oh, men are perpetrators of this, men are perpetrators of this, and then I ask a question, I said, did these men fall from the moon? They did not. How and why do I say that? These men grew up in a home. So there is somebody in their life they would call a mother. These men have an auntie. These men have wives. These men have sisters. These men have cousins. They are not aliens. Paradigm shift for women. You find cases where a victim is raped. A young girl living with her auntie, and the uncle makes advances at her. You find the wives of these uncles still defending their husbands. Now, are we asking you to cast your husbands out and get him killed or get him stoned to death or something? No. But getting that man, you supporting him and shielding him. And I'm speaking because this happens a lot. And I know the case of a young girl, it even happened to very recently, where the auntie she was supposedly living with and decides to support her husband when she got to tell the auntie what the husband had tried doing to her after he had been making several small advances here and there. But she still supported the husband and did not believe the young girl, still pointed finger to her. I mean, calling her Jezebel, you want to break up my home and all of that. Now, that is just one girl, but that is one out of many that happens. Now, if women and wives learn to have a change of mindset, to know that if your husband did this to a young girl, we're not asking you to kill him, but all we are asking is that you get him to apologize. An apology to that young girl alone relieves more than 50% of the trauma that she would have experienced by that scenario, whether it eventually led to a rape or whether she was able to escape. That would be resolving about 50% of it. Just getting the man to own up and to apologize. But when you find wives shielded their husbands and saying, my husband did not do such a thing, you are the one that wants to break up my home. You have not helped the society in any way by doing that. So that's why I said a paradigm shift. And then that's for wives. And the same paradigm shift applies to sisters of these men, mothers of these men who do this, who engage in such heinous acts, should have a paradigm shift to understand that you are endangering generations. For the fact that it is one girl who was able to speak up to say, your son tried to do this to me, your husband tried to do this to me. Trust me, he has done it to 5 others who might never come out to speak for fear and for many other reasons. So when you shield them, you don't get them to apologize. You don't get them to own up to the wrong that they do. You have not helped society in any way. So that's for paradigm shift for women. And back to the first point, let's get to sensitize our men from childhood. Let's make it part of sex education, which is my third point. Sex education. The other guest spoke about that as well. Sex education, proper sex education for both males and both females. What sex education? Now, there are some young women. It would amaze you to know that there are some women who do not even really know what sexual violence really is. They don't know. You think everybody knows? Oh no, they don't. Yes. And proper sex education would let them know that if somebody touches you here and here on XY body parts and you are not comfortable with it, you should say no. And no means no. We should get to spell out these things to young ones early enough. Yes, I think those are like the 3 basic points that I have for curbing sexual violence.
Yes, thank you very much for that one. That was an amazing response. I really enjoyed it. Before we let you go, I have one more question for you. Now, I know a lot of times, most of the sexual violation we're talking about, people tend to believe is always from the men. But do you think women somewhat in one way or the other are actually part of the reasons, or might be part of the reasons they actually get sexually violated? What I'm saying this is not like I'm giving reasons for why they're sexually violated or why a man should sexually violate a woman, but do you think women are also part of a contribution? Because sometimes they say when there's a fire, when there's a smoke, there's a fire. Do you understand? So, but it's not in all cases, because when you see a child that is being raped, I don't understand. That one doesn't even have a fire. It's just being smoky. But do you think at any point women also contribute, or they're part of the reasons, or some just few cases whereby they actually get violated? Please answer that in just 1 minute, because our time is already up.
Okay. So they are very, just like you rightly said, the answer is already. But yes, there are cases where a woman said to have had some contributing efforts towards being sexually violated. Now, it is not in all cases, and this is not to excuse sexual violence. And this is also to say that if you have, let's say you have an entire orange, for instance, sexual violence happening to women is an entire orange. If you divide that orange into parts, a small percentage of it can be attributed to where you can say women are the causative factors of sexual violence. And why do I say that? That's to the percentage of cases where you might now find the men saying, she was not properly dressed, so that was what caused me to be drawn to her. I mean, making that an excuse for their lust. So yes, there are few percentages of cases where you can attribute the cause to the woman, and it's usually cases where you find the man saying the woman was not properly dressed, the way she dressed was sexually arousing, and that was what got my attention to her. And also, aside from being not properly dressed, there are some cases, a few cases where some women, it's because of the kind of conversations they have with the men. Now, there are some women who have indecent conversations with some men and they think it's okay. Like, you're just talking to a man and I just say, so Emma, that girl, so my left breast, if I check and I saw the TB for my nipple, and you're just talking carefully. Yes, there are a few cases like that where such women have gotten themselves into trouble because they are not able to mind their conversations with men. And then a few other cases are cases where some women, a few women have cases of being sexually violated because they disrespected some men in some way, maybe spoke rudely to them or embarrassed them. A few cases like that, yes. So that's it.
Very much, Gabriela, that was amazing. Beautiful input. I love how you just were able to streamline it to communication, which is very true. I've seen a lot of cases whereby when they say I went to his house. Why are you going to a man's house in the night? You are not dating him. You are not even in a relationship with him. You're going there to spend the night. My sister, you will now wear blonde shorts. Excuse you. I'm not giving you this for the men, but at the same time, you have to be decent. In fact, why are you sleeping in man's house that is not your fiance? You're not getting married. Do you understand? You have no reason. If it's your friend, see, like they say, body no be firewood. Do you understand? But you still have to respect yourself. You have to flee from temptation. Else, when you see what comes at you, don't complain. That's why you see sometimes when these ladies report to the police, they'll be like, wait till you say fine going house. Do you understand? So my sister, my brother, don't accept a woman that you know she's not your fiance, or maybe in a way you're even sexually attracted to her and you're trying to control yourself and you're inviting her to the house. Even you have a problem. And so it's both for the men and the women. At this point, I just want to say thank you very much, Gabriel Gabriela, for being on the show. That was an amazing April. Thank you. Our normal ritual is, before we let you go, you give us a wave of goodbye with a very big smile.
Thank you for having me. Everyone stay safe out there. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining the program. And we still have Pastor Ngozi Ezeonu Uchendu in the studio. So I want to appreciate you also for coming. Thank you so much. She was with us, and for 30 minutes she was giving us fire back to back. For over 30 minutes actually, you're giving us fire back to back. You talk to the children, you talk to the mothers, you talk to the young mothers, you talk to the boys, which was amazing. Yes, and even also the wives. That is very amazing. And of course, you know she's a pastor, so they have plenty of advice to dish. If you want a number, just let me know. I'll give you a number. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to my viewers for joining us today. If you're just coming in, you can actually go to Galaxy Television on Facebook and Twitter and watch us. And of course, like, subscribe, and share our Galaxy Television News and Galaxy TV on YouTube. And also, do not forget, we are having the buzz up next in just a few minutes. And of course, it's me, your girl. So until then, have a beautiful day and bye for now.